Hi, in this video, I'll show you how to distinguish between a confidence interval question and a hypothesis testing question. A lot of teachers and students would abbreviate CI for confidence interval and HT for hypothesis test. Both of these types of questions will show up in the typical stats exam or the AP stats exam, and you don't want to be answering the wrong kind of question. First of all, let's talk about how they can look like each other, and that is in the data collection part. Both types of questions will include information like the researcher goes out, gets a random sample of n people, and collects some data about them. For example, both types could say a researcher randomly samples 30 batteries and finds a sample mean of 11.5 hours with a standard deviation of 1.2 hours for the lifetime of the battery. Or I could say the pollster asked 120 randomly selected voters and found 82 of them wanted to recall the mayor. Both types of questions collect the same data. That's why they could be confused for one another. Where they differ is what they are looking for. They have different goals. The goal of a confidence interval question or CI question is to estimate a population parameter at some confidence level. The answer to that would be something like we are 90% confident or 95% confident that the parameter is within some range of numerical values. This range can be written in interval notation, such as 0.023, comma 0.051, close paren, or as a compound inequality, 0.023 less than p less than 0.051, or as a point estimate plus or minus a margin of error, such as 0.037 plus or minus 0.014. The goal of hypothesis testing, or HT, is different. Its goal is to test some hypothesis to determine whether a claim may be true or false at some significance level. The answer to that is usually compute a p-value and either reject or fail to reject H naught, the null hypothesis, and conclude either there is sufficient evidence to conclude that or there is not sufficient evidence to conclude that, blah, blah, blah. In a full CI or HT question, the given values are different. In a CI question, you're given a confidence level, and it's usually some high percentage, like 95% or 90%. In an HT question, you're usually given a significance level, and that is usually a small decimal, 0.05, 0.02. Because the goals are different, certain keywords will be different between the confidence interval question and a hypothesis testing question. For CI, because we're looking to estimate some number, keywords that appear in a CI questions can be estimate, compute, or what is the blank, or something about some margin of error. For HT, because we're testing a claim or hypothesis, the word claim or hypothesis tends to show up in the question, or the words test and whether or if, because we're looking to see whether something is true, if something is true. The question can also sound like a yes-no question, such as, is there a difference? Or did the mean increase? So quick summary before I do some examples. A confidence interval question asks for some number or numerical range of values. It uses words that solicit a computation or estimate of a number or range of numbers. For a complete question, the confidence level is given, and this is usually a high percentage, such as 90% or 95%. A hypothesis test question asks for yes no on some claim or hypothesis. It uses words asking for a test or a confirmation or whether something is true. For a complete question, the significance level or alpha is given, usually a small decimal such as 0.05 or 0.03. Let's now look at some examples. Example 1. A political pollster wants to determine what proportion of voters in a certain city want to recall the mayor. The pollster asked 120 randomly selected voters and found 82 of them wanted to recall the mayor. Use 95% confidence level. Is this a confidence interval question or a hypothesis testing question? Is it CI or is it HT? Press pause and think about it. In fact, for all questions in this video, you should press pause and try answering before moving on. All right, ready? This is a CI question because we have the confidence here that's given. That makes a CI question, no doubt. Well, that was easy, but what if? What if the confidence level and significance level alpha are not given in the question? For example, what if the exam has a opening paragraph at the beginning that says something like this? For all confidence interval questions, use 95% confidence level. For all hypothesis testing questions, use significance level alpha equals 0.05. If that happens, then these numbers are already given in the opening paragraph of the exam and won't be given again. So you can't rely on that little detail to figure out if it's CI or HT. So for example, our example 1 again would be shortened to something like this. Now, what part of this tells us whether it is a CI question or an HT question? Pause and answer first. This part right here is what tells us is a confidence interval question. It uses the verb determine. Well, okay, not compute or estimate, but it has to determine what is the proportion, right? So that's asking for value, and that makes it a CI question. Moving on to example 2. A company claims that their new battery lasts more than 12 hours on average. A researcher tests this by randomly sampling 30 batteries and finds a sample mean of 11.5 hours with a standard deviation of 1.2 hours. Is this CI or HT, confidence interval, or hypothesis testing? Pause and answer first before moving on. These two keywords here tell us it's a hypothesis testing. Someone claims something, and a researcher tests that claim. Example 3. A teacher implements a new teaching method and wants to determine if it improves test scores. The average exam score from previous years was 78. This year, a random sample of 40 students had an average score of 82, with a standard deviation of 10. Is this a confidence interval or hypothesis testing? Press pause to answer. This one little word here, the word if, tells me it's hypothesis testing. The researcher wants to determine if the new teaching method improves test score. Want to test whether or if something is true, then the answer to that would be either a yes or a no. So it's like a yes or no question. That makes it hypothesis test. All right, are we good? Hope that helps. Any questions or comments? Put it in the comments section below. Like, share, and subscribe for more contents. And thanks for watching. Bye.